Hello and welcome to the Real Response COVID-19 training workshop on treatment strategies. My name is Lydia and I'll be taking you through today's workshop. This training workshop will explore the current methods of prevention management of confirmed cases and the latest or most promising treatment strategies being used against COVID-19 within the hospital setting. Our objectives within today's workshop will include an overview of COVID-19, the means and rate of transmission, signs and symptoms of infection from COVID-19, red flags to be aware of and cautious of, how to provide treatment for COVID-19 patients at home, the current treatments being trialled and used within hospital settings, and options available for referral centres. In late 2019, a novel beta coronavirus was identified after a cluster of pneumonia cases erupted in Wuhan City, Hubei province of China, due to a then unknown cause. Initially known as the 2019 novel coronavirus, or 2019 nCoV, it was later renamed as SARS coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2. This change came after genomic sequencing found that the virus shared 79.5% of the genetic sequence of SARS coronavirus or SARS-CoV, which caused the 2002 to 2003 epidemic. Thus, SARS-CoV-2 became the newest member of the genus beta coronavirus and the pathogen known to cause coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19. But why is the genomic sequence so important? How does it actually help us? Identification of the genetic sequence has helped to establish the similarities between SARS-CoV and SARS-CoV-2. The spike proteins covering the SARS-CoV contain a variable receptor binding domain, RBD, which binds to angiotensin converting enzyme 2, or ACE2. Proteolytic processing occurs by type 2 transmembrane protease, cleaving the ACE2 receptors, and may also require type 2 transmembrane protease to gain entry to cells. This knowledge has already directed clinicians towards potential treatments for patients with COVID-19 and could accelerate the process towards finding more viable treatment therapies. And an acceleration in this field is really what we need right now. As with other coronaviruses, the SARS-CoV-2 predominantly affects the lungs, causing the COVID-19 respiratory disease. This means that the pathogen is likely to be spread within respiratory droplets created when an infected person coughs or sneezes. These droplets can then fall onto objects or onto the skin of a healthy person. The skin provides a protective barrier against such droplets, and the virus will not be absorbed here. The virus does have to come in contact with a mucous membrane, such as the eyes, nose, or mouth. This means if an infected person coughs and droplets land on a healthy person, or on an object which is then touched by a healthy person, the healthy person then touches the eyes, nose, or mouth, the healthy person can now become infected with COVID-19. I would like to direct your attention to the graph on the left. It talks about how contagious and deadly different diseases are. The y-axis indicates the case fatality rate, or the percentage of people that die from different infections, as seen on the graph. The x-axis indicates the infection rate of these different infections. COVID-19 is indicated in orange. What we know or think we know at this stage is that this disease has a similar transmission and case fatality rate as the Spanish flu. In the early 1918, the Spanish flu spread rapidly around the world, infecting about 1/3 of the planet's population. That's about 500 billion people, and killing on an estimated 20 to 50 million people. The Spanish flu wreaked havoc on a society that had nowhere near as much access to travel and spread as ours does today. But if the coronavirus is not as deadly as MERS or SARS or even Ebola, why is the global reaction to this so strong? Well, let's take a quick look at the timeline of COVID-19. The first reports of the undiagnosed pneumonia in Wuhan on 8 December 2019 were followed by an alert from China to the World Health Organization about a cluster of pneumonia cases on 30 December. Isolation of the novel coronavirus occurred on 3 January 2020. On 30 January, the World Health Organization declared a public health emergency of international concern. And on 12 March, a pandemic was declared. Barely 3 months after we learned of its existence, this pathogen has spread to the four corners of the earth. It's moving fast, and the world has thus far been unprepared. Now let's take a look specifically at this rate of transmission. When talking about the rate at which a pathogen is transmitted through the population, we talk about the R0 of the pathogen or disease. R0 is a term used to describe how infectious a pathogen is, or rather, how many healthy people one infected person is likely to infect. I'd like to direct your attention now to the visual representation of this on the bottom left corner of this slide. This is representing the R0 of different diseases that have infected our populations. Just take a look. Influenza infecting one infected person infects 1.5 other people on average. Ebola infected 2 other people on average. COVID-19 at the moment is suspected to infect on average 2.5 other people. And measles goes up to 1 infected person infecting 16 other people. So it's just a quick visual representation of what R0 means. It is well recognized that with COVID-19, many cases are going unreported, which means that a definitive R0 will not be possible until this pandemic has reached its natural end. However, from confirmed cases that have been reported globally, it is estimated that the rate of transmission of COVID-19 is between 1.4 and 3.28. While it may seem like a small number, if we think about it on a personal scale, that one person will infect, on average, only 2.5 others with COVID-19. However, if we look at it at the picture in the middle, we can see that this initial person infecting only 2 people essentially means that the infected population will double every few days if left unchecked. This means that a small number becomes a much greater number within a matter of weeks. Let's take a quick look at the escalating numbers in the US during the month of March as an example. This shows very adequately how a small number very quickly escalates and becomes out of control.
because the reality is reassuring. It is deep breath time.
My administration has also taken the most aggressive action in modern history to protect Americans from the coronavirus. You know about this whole thing? Horrible.
Former Vice President Joe Biden making a remarkable political comeback.
And we're told, well, when it got to Super Tuesday, it'd be over. Well, it may be over for the other guy.
We play games without the fans? Yeah. No, it's impossible. I ain't playing. I ain't got the fans in the crowd. That's what I play for.
Social distancing, and that's an aggressive measure that's taken to help contain an outbreak or slow its spread.
The Grand Princess crossing the iconic Golden Gate, 21 on board infected with coronavirus, most of them crew members.
It will go away. Just stay calm. It will go away. We want to protect our shipping industry, our cruise industry.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days. I am officially declaring a national emergency. Two very big words.
Traía un taxi de camino a casa, haber trabajado toda la noche. ¿Qué les puedo decir? Siguen llegando un montón de pacientes. El terror que a mí me da es que de un paciente el miércoles pasado a hoy, que son 6 días, tenemos ¿cuántos? 50 y tantos, ya casi 60, o algo así, una locura.
And that means we have to do testing. We have to get the testing kits up and ready. I would have the World Health Organization. I'd take advantage of the test kits they have available to us.
The Dow sank nearly 3,000 points, its worst day since 1987 and its second biggest single-day percentage loss in history.
School districts are starting to close throughout the United States for the rest of the year. And it's just crazy to think, as a teacher, like the last time I saw my kids last week could be the last time I see them all year.
It's been 5 days since I was tested. And I called the doctor again today. They said they don't have my test back. The doctor seemed really frustrated, or his nurse did. They said the lab's really backed up.
I am currently practicing social distancing. I'm on a little quarantine, if you will. Staying inside as much as possible, unless I have to go to the supermarket.
Candy here. Candy's full. Bread is not. Bread is not.
We're on our way to IHOP in Patterson, and before we even do that, we have our face masks and our gloves to make sure that we're safely picking up and distributing it to the people in need.
Yeah, my mother is not expendable. And your mother is not expendable. And we're not going to accept a premise that human life is disposable.
Yesterday, I had to FaceTime a family member so they can say goodbye to their mom, their aunt, their grandma. And I never thought that we would ever have to go through this without family members being beside them.
We had some intensive conversations with him, and we convinced him. He listened, and we said the better part of valor would be to extend them until the end of April.
We have just heard from President Trump at the White House with perhaps his most somber message yet, calling on Americans to brace for a, quote, very tough 2 weeks, saying that Americans should be prepared for more than 100,000 deaths before we get through this.